The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Our all in all, the Savior, the Protector, the Unifier, the Messiah, the King of Kings. The most loud. Assimi greater, powerful speech during their Peace and Reconciliation Day. It is very historic that as Africans, we need to reconcile. We need peace, and we are the only ones that will fight for it. According to our all in all, they are building a better Mali, that they will have their sovereignty, they will have their peace, that these people are sitting somewhere and they are meddling in the affairs of whatsoever that is happening in Mali. All these activities we are seeing, these are sponsored by international bodies. And according to him, we are ready to fight for a better Mali. We'll do everything in our power. Nothing is going to stop us. We have decided to fight for our sovereignty. We will fight till we get the freedom that we need.
We are gathered on this day, 22 July 2011, for a very particular circumstance that participates in our common will to build a peaceful future for our nation. Of our commitment to translate into action the deep aspirations of the Malian people. The present ceremony is all the more singular, that she is the bearer of a collective dream, that of lasting peace and social cohesion. In short, the reconciliation in our dear homeland. This ceremony, solemn, marking the official presentation of the project of the National Charter for Peace and National Reconstruction, is constituted a decisive step in our collective quest for a better future. This charter is the result of an inclusive national dialogue and rooted in our values, expresses the regained sovereignty of Mali on choices, peace, justice and social cohesion. After so many jolts, uncertainties and resentments, to the sweet OR during crisis or conflict situation, it's time to heal the wounds, to listen to the distant voices and look to the future under better auspices. The sacrifice made by the sons and the girls of Mali for this peace is a precious legacy that make our will to go to a nation reconciled and resolutely focused on development. The great consciousness of our multi-secular history and the collective wisdom that Malians have constantly remain assets in meeting these challenges, major for the nation. To this decisive turning point in our history, we must all, in the resilience and in the conviction of a better tomorrow, join our efforts to ensure that Mali continues to develop and last. Ladies and gentlemen, the challenge that we face are 7 multiples, but they support us, however, to transform them as an opportunity to reduce to their simple expression the worst predictions against the sovereign march in Mali. Victim of geopoliticals, skillfully orchestrated, our condition had been purposely weakened, and its territorial integrity shaken by desires, separatists against a background of terrorism, inspired and actively supported by foreign sponsors. Also, the continuous fragilization of the state, other purposes in the country, and the introduction of an unprecedented situation of violence, while causing deep fractures in intra- and inter-community links. See at the national level, our state has been the victim of geopoliticals, exogenous pressures and strategies to dilute ITS sovereignty, CES threats, skillfully orchestrated, have shaken our cohesion, instrumentalize community differences, and weaken our territorial integrity. Fortunately, the discernment, the resilience and spirit of responsibility of the people Malian have made it possible to counter this attempt and preserve the appearance by demonstrating thus its attachment to its deep origins as a shield, and by developing the full awareness of its unity. The Malian people now intends to illustrate themselves in the resolution of crises and conflicts through endogenous mechanisms. The defense forces and security in their mission have helped stabilize the situation and to bring back, gradually, equality in many localities of the country. Recruitment of territorial integrity was also a determining factor for the return of the peace and the beginning of the national reconciliation process, of which we celebrate today the conclusion of a crucial stage. Of course, this is the drafting of the project of the Charter for Peace and the National Reconciliation, a document of high value. Then, I am convinced, will restore the sovereignty of Mali on cess resolution initiatives of crisis or conflict. It is all the more imperative that the dialogue process initiated by our country under the aegis of external actors had been mortgaged to serve other interests. Such an off-center process will not offer, in reality, no prospect of lasting peace between Malians. On the contrary, accordingly, the Malian people had no choice but to appropriate this important mechanism in order to set up a just and lasting architecture of peace in our country. Ladies and gentlemen, by initiating Theal dialogue, we have contributed to create the conditions for a frank dialogue and between Malians and Malians, free from external interference, far from any spirit of confrontation or even prosecution. It was in the frankness to dedicate oneself in the search for a lasting peace. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the resolutions of this great forum was relative to the development of a charter to enable to lay a solid foundation for peace, of the reconciliation of social cohesion, and live together. It is in application of this will of the people that I have decided to create an editorial board of the draft of the National Charter for Peace and the National. This commission, which includes selected women and men for their expertise and commitment to Mali, has taken on the task by adopting an inclusive and participatory approach. Thus, she consulted the whole of the country's professional social strata, Malians established abroad, and the different institutions of the state. Important meetings have identified the major problems that condition the peace, cohesion, and reconciliation in our country. But they also served as a framework to indicate solutions for effective reconciliation, commitment to lasting peace. Ladies and gentlemen, the presidential approach thus printed to the dialogue process identified the concerns of the different actors, but also to address topics of global interest that commit the life of the state and the nation. Among the areas analyzed, we can mention the governance, education in values, LA culture, LA justice, education, the fight against corruption, natural resource management, the media, the youth, peace, defense, and security. Ladies, receiving the draft charter for the peace and the national reconciliation, I remain convinced that hope is largely allowed for the accomplishment of the collective dream Malians to build a peaceful future of reconciliation and social cohesion. We think without reservation or blockage and contribute to the advent of this new glimmer of hope, called to enlighten our hearts and minds and to give Mali back all its social of old head of humanism, of solidarity and peace. The trials we went through together must now constitute the cement of our found unit. Since HIS, noble vocation, the National Charter for Peace and must in the future bring together positive energies around our values and principles of peace and national cohesion. It must also constitute a guarantee of our social balance and our development policies. This charter is called to become the common base, public policies, strategies of peace and reconciliation and collective action for our future. It will guide our institutions, our traditional authorities, our civil society, and every citizen in the quest for a appeased and united Mali. Ladies and gentlemen, before finishing, I would like to express my sincere thanks to all members of the editorial board of the draft charter and to all those who have contributed to it. I address, in particular, my warm thanks to the chairman of the commission for the clairvoyance, methodological rigor, and the spirit of conciliation that he has demonstrated throughout this process, this historical process. I hope that the Charter will serve as a reference document to all the components of our nation and all public institutions for all competing actions to peace, to reconciliation and social cohesion, and to live together until Mali engaged in the Refondation Grande. National and saving work needs all HIS children. The peace and national cohesion are the sine qua non conditions for the harmonious life in society and the realization social and economic development actions. We have demonstrated we are able to transcend our divergence to save the bird, which is our common homeland. We should persevere in this path, who is the only one possible. If we want to preserve the future of our nation, we should now bring this charter to life, not like a frozen text, but like a living compass, to build together the Mali of tomorrow. Allah blesses Mali and protects Mali. I thank you.
We all need to contribute our part. This journey is not going to be easy, but it is only us that can give ourselves the freedom that we need. According to him, the time has come for us to heal wounds, for us to unite, to fight for the freedom we are looking for. This is the time for us to reconcile, forgive ourselves, do away with the bitterness that we have towards one another. Because these are the things these people always capitalize on to divide the African. And for that matter, we have to make sure we heal and come together as a people. We can never move forward and achieve our aim if we still carry bitterness in us. Because these people always make sure that they remind us of our past grievances. So the more they do that, the more we rise up and fight against ourselves. This is the time for us all to come together as a people to fight for our unity and our liberation. We have to understand that the peace and unity we are looking for, we will not get it on a silver platter, because When we are united, other people will lose their daily bread, and they will do everything to fight us so that we will never get to our destination for them to be hungry. We have to love our leaders and support them and know that they are doing everything in their power just to give us the freedom. Some of us still don't understand and think that we have to allow these people to organize elections, to do this. There are people who are still feeding us with lies. But if we continue to listen to them, at the end of the day, another Libya will emerge and these people will succeed. And this time around, if they are able to defeat us, it will be very difficult for us to rise again. That is why we need to do everything possible now to unite. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world, in Africa, West Africa, and in Mali.